Hey guys, my name is Melanie Ludy and welcome back to my channel. So the day I'm filming this is March 8th, and by the end of the week we will have been in lockdown for a year. It's really crazy to think about, to be honest, and I wanted to do a video kind of reflecting on how this year has been and maybe pose some reflection questions for you in your journal habit, or even for your kids as writing assignments this week. So with that being said, go ahead, grab a mug of tea or coffee, and let's get into it. The first question I wrote down is, what have you learned about yourself this year? That's such a big question. I feel like I've learned so much about myself this year. Towards the beginning, I was learning more digital tools and how to teach online, how the student interaction process was going to work, how I could use the tools to do the things that I do in building. And I learned a lot about how I deal with conflict. So it was really stressful. But I put all of that stress and chaos into establishing order in my classroom. So I worked really hard to find ways to make it just like it was in building. So like, I'm still talking to the kids. I'm still checking in with them about their life. I'm still making PowerPoints and teaching from them. Learned that I really do well with change and that I kind of just take things head on as they come. Which, if you had asked me before quarantine, I'm not sure I would have been as confident in that answer. I like to think that I kind of roll with the punches, but with quarantine, with COVID in general, that was really kind of a make or break it moment for me. And I feel like I did pretty well with it, to be honest. Another really big thing I think I learned was my relationship with stuff. Because I was at home so much, I got to look at the same few objects a lot. And I got to use those same few objects a lot. The last few years, I've been a discarder. So I went crazy with the Marie Kondo stuff. And I decluttered a ton of stuff, even before quarantine. I had a war against too much stuff. But with quarantine going on, I was like, I really don't use 50% of X, Y, and Z. I really should just pass those along. And like right now, I really want to declutter a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm like, wait, it's quarantine. Like, what happens when I go back in building? Aren't I going to want to wear some of those things? Aren't I going to use some of those bags? Like, it's been a whole conundrum for me. But I learned a lot about how I value less stuff. I don't want a ton of inventory. I like having a few things that I love. Like this mug and my black one that says coffee is magical. Those are about the only two I use. I have about 15 in the cabinet. I use 2. This one is actually for water. The black one is for coffee. I don't know what it is. It either needs to have a straw or it needs to have a handle. If it has both, we in there. But that's what I figured out about cups and me. What else have I learned about me? I learned that I still love journaling. Writing has always been hard for me. Like, I think faster than I can write a lot of the time. So writing always felt like an arduous process. Like, I could never get it out in time. But because I've been journaling so much more frequently, my brain has slowed down enough that I can write things, because there's not 15 thoughts that need to get out now before I forget, because I wrote 3 of them down yesterday and I'm going to write down 2 more of them today. Those are probably the big things I've learned. Oh, you know what else I learned? My personal style. I learned a lot of it comes with seasons. So like right now I'm in mom jeans and this chenille sweater that I love. If you would never have seen me in this in building last year. I would never have even considered wearing these jeans, but they are comfortable. And being at home and like working with less options because I just want to be comfortable and I want to be warm enough. It really kind of helped me refine more of my style and how I like a much simpler look. And like I want a cozy look and I want a little bit of structure, but not a lot. If it's too structured, I won't be comfortable. So, something else I learned. All right, so I just spilled water. Okay. Next question. How has it changed you? I feel like a better question would be, how has it not changed you? To be honest. So because I was able to stay home, I no longer had my 1.5 to 2 hour commute. And that revolutionized how I think about my job and what I consider commitment to my job. So I don't commit to anything less than 100%. I'm either totally in or I'm out. And that can be great. The problem is I can't always give 100% even though I want to. So when I was in building, because I had to get up so early to beat the traffic, plus I was productive in the morning, so it made sense to get to school early and just like get a jump on things. But then I would have to stay a little bit late just to make sure I had all my stuff ready. And then I would leave and then I'd sit in traffic for 1.5 hours. And wow, is that an energy killer. And like the last thing I wanted to do was go home and grade papers after I'd carried in this humongous bag of papers. Most often it just got left and like I wouldn't grade it anyway because I was exhausted. And like I was working so hard and I feel like I was just spinning my wheels. And now, because I don't have that commute, I feel like I'm actually able to devote my energy to improving my practice. So I feel like I use more growth mindset language. I use please and thank you a ridiculous amount, and I see it working. Like I see the kids send thank you back to me, or please, can you put this answer in the chat for me so I can put it on my worksheet? Like, it totally changes how your classroom goes. And like, no way would I have thought that those 3 words, please and thank you, would have had such a huge impact for as little effort as it takes. But honestly, if you're struggling, that's the first thing I'm going to tell you. Say please and thank you with every direction, with every piece of feedback, like literally. Please and thank you will change your life. But that was one of the things I was able to really put into practice because I was able to slow down for a second and really analyze how I was teaching. And that was one of the biggest ways I think I've changed over quarantine. Like I always wanted to include like Google Classroom and tech stuff into my teaching. I always knew that that would be a better use of my time. But my school was struggling with like every kid having a Chromebook, keeping them charged, things like that, internet connectivity because there was like too many devices trying to get on at once. That was a big issue in building, and it was just, those were some kind of like administrative, systemic, I guess is the right word, like hurdles that I couldn't overcome. But now having had them do it online and be exclusive with Google Classroom, I don't think I could go back. That is probably a huge change in my teaching. And honestly, I love the system I've come up with on Google Classroom and how I grade things, how I do things, and I keep tweaking it, which is definitely on par with my personality and how I do things. I always look to improve it. I'm very self-critical, so I constantly look for ways to improve. What else has changed? I don't know if I really call it changed. I think it was just like I took the next level of transformation. Like I really took this year as a time to kind of go from the Metapod to the Butterfree for those Pokemon people out there. Like I was hustling hard as a Caterpie, man. I was working to get my master's. I was working to get my cert. I was working to get hired, to figure out this whole teaching thing, because I did an alternate route to certification and I didn't have a traditional student teaching experience where you kind of like dip your feet in a little bit and figure out how it goes. I was just kind of thrown into the water, as it were, and, sink or swim. And then, this quarantine has kind of been my metapod stage. I've been able to stay at home and, do some self-help things. Like, I've been able to read so many more self-help books because I have the mental space to do that. I've been able to journal, which I love. I've been able to buy my house that I love so much. I got engaged this year. Like, I feel like I'm hitting that Butterfree moment right now. And I feel like everything I've been working for has finally had the chance to kind of like blossom and see those end results at this point. Like, I feel like my teaching has gotten better. I feel like my relationship with my fiance has improved. We've gotten to know each other so much more, and like how we want to do things and where we want to go with our future. And like financially, I feel like I've been able to like blossom. I was finally able to put money away so I could buy the house, so I could move in and achieve that kind of location independence that I wanted. Okay. Water. All right. Next question is your relationship with masks. Let me preface this by saying I generally don't leave the house. So I generally don't need a mask. I leave the house maybe once a week to go grocery shopping. That's about the extent of it. Or I go to my fiance's parents' house and we have dinner. Masks don't bother me. Like, it's not, like, yes, it's a little bit harder to breathe and like it's warm air on your face when you're not expecting warm air. I think that's the big thing of it. And like, it's over your nose and mouth if you're wearing it correctly. So for me, they don't bother me. I get irritated when other people don't wear them just because the masks are designed to protect other people. Just in case you have something, just in case, someone has it really bad and they don't know yet. Like, it's a safety thing. Like, to me, it's like having smoke alarms in your house. Like, it's not that hard. Just have them. The small investment will greatly save you in the future. Like, no one thinks their house is going to be on fire. Just like no one really thinks the people at the grocery store are going to have COVID. But, accidents happen. Things happen. It's good to be prepared. Next question is, have you had a tough time with friendships? I'm going to say no, I haven't. So I actually feel like I've gained more friends during quarantine. So I was able to have happy hours with my friend Allie. I see two of my friends who are more local, and like we were like more acquaintances, I feel like, at the beginning of quarantine, and since it's happened we've become much closer, and I feel like we have more like interactions together since quarantine. And I think a lot of that is just because we all had to slow down. Like, I'm not commuting 10 plus hours a week anymore. So like, I actually want to go out on a Saturday and like hang out with people or play lawn games or something. And I also think a lot of my friends, because we've been in quarantine, I think people in general have been better about reaching out and communicating to people digitally. So like, I get more texts from friends. I have more video calls, which were just almost unheard of, I feel like, before quarantine. So I feel like because we've been in quarantine and we really realize we can't hang out with people in person as much, it's made us all that more grateful, and we've done more to try and hang out with people, if that makes sense. Next question, how do you combat pandemic fatigue? Here's the thing, I don't even feel pandemic fatigue. I don't. And part of that is because I love this new version of my life that I get to live in lockdown. I get to spend so much time in the house I work so hard for. I get to have a beautifully decorated office which is clean and wonderful and brings me so much peace. I'm able to wear the clothes I want and be as comfortable as I like in my house. And if I don't want to wear shoes, I don't have to. I get to have coffee with me all day, and I can heat it up whenever I want. I can use the bathroom pretty much whenever I want, and it's my personal bathroom. So the way my life has benefited during this time severely outweighs any of the kind of fatigue I think I get. The other thing is I can kind of pretend the pandemic doesn't exist in my house because I don't have to go to work. I don't have to leave. My job is at home. I'm not constantly slapped in the face with, people are dying, you gotta wear a mask, when will this be over? Like, I'm not. Part of that is also I just don't watch the news, really. I really, really don't. I've never wanted to watch the news, and every time I do, really, I feel like my whole mood sours, and I just become more upset a lot. I also don't really check in a lot on Facebook anymore. Like, social media, with the exception of YouTube, I really don't check in on. And, I feel like that's been really beneficial for my mental health. Not constantly being slapped in the face with statistics regarding COVID or anything like that. I think that has been huge. Other thing, because I'm at home, I'm able to do a lot more kind of self-care. So I'm able to just do my yoga in my room if I want. Or I'm able to take a bubble bath if I want. I'm able to make some cookies that I want. Or to make nutritious lunches so I feel healthy. I'm able to do my budget and think about it. I just having so much of my time back. I was able to really utilize it in ways that make my life happier. So we got two more. How is remote teaching / learning going? So for me, I feel like remote teaching is fantastic. I really love it. I really do. I feel like I've been able to just focus on getting the curriculum to the kids and making sure it's on their level and giving them the kind of feedback that actually helps them learn versus just managing behavior. And there's a little bit of that with remote, but the behavior we have in remote is you're just not coming to class. There's not really kids talking to each other. There's not kids getting out of their seat. There's not random remarks, people trying to fight each other. There's none of that because they're not in the same physical space as each other. So I'm able to really focus on just the teaching part of teaching, which I really love. And there's still time and there's still ways to connect with students on a human level. I can still compliment kids on, your hair looks amazing today. That was a great answer. Thank you so much for your question. All of that is still options. Are still options? Are still options. I can't express how much gratitude I have for this year. And I know it has not been wonderful for everybody. I know it hasn't. A lot of people have lost relatives, friends. A lot of my kids have. I know people have had more financial worries this year because of, sudden job loss or layoff. I know that the big uncertainty in the world has caused a lot of anxiety and spike and kind of mental disorders. I know. But that doesn't mean that the year has been terrible for everybody in every sense. And I feel like it's the unpopular opinion to say that this time has been beneficial. So I'm going to tell you that if you feel that way, I'm with you. It's okay to feel like you've grown in this time. It's okay to feel like there were good parts in this year that was a lot, quite frankly. It was a lot. Life is bittersweet. There's bitter and there's sweet. The bitter makes the sweet even sweeter. Last question. First thing you're going to do after quarantine, when COVID is all over, when all of this is really finished. Honestly, I'm not sure. Travel would be kind of up on that list. I've wanted to go to Niagara Falls for years at this point. My fiance's also been trying to go to Vegas for years at this point. Get married is on that list. I almost feel like quarantine has been so good to me. I'm not willing to think about what happens when it's over. Like, I'm really trying to just live in the good part of it and not think about what happens when it's done. It's funny, this is supposed to probably be the one question that your kids are going to be really excited to answer. And this was probably the hardest question for me and the most uncomfortable. I think that's so fascinating. Like, I could say, go see my grandmother, who I haven't seen since March. She literally has not left her house in the entire year, which that's how she feels, and that's fine. But it's so odd to me that I haven't seen her in a year, like in person. I really, really don't know. Okay, guys, so at this point, I've been talking for a while now. So, kind of summarizing thoughts. Life is bittersweet. There's going to be bitter parts, but they make you appreciate the sweet all the more. This year of lockdown has been a lot, but it hasn't been all bad. I think the biggest gift of this was that we were given a chance to slow down. And for some of us, it was a wake-up call. For some of us, it was that time we needed. And not every day has been great. Not every moment has been a joy. But there's been moments. There's been days. So while you do your own reflection on this year, I hope you consider some of the better things that have happened to you. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.